Hi, I'm Lisa. I grew up going to church a lot with my mom. She made sure that we went to church every Sunday. And she just had a lot of practices in our house that just reflected church. But as kids, me and my brothers never really paid attention to church. We literally just slept underneath the pews and crawled underneath and just goofed around during church. But also, like, growing up, me and my brothers would just have a really childlike family. We just played a lot outside. We played basketball, football, anything you can name, like, we played it. Capture the flag, it was great. We just had tons of friends in our neighborhood. But being the only girl, I noticed how much I needed to prove myself. By the way my brothers treated me, it was more of them pushing me around and treating me like a girl. And I thought I had to fit in and just like be one of the boys, but it never worked out that way. So what I remember in middle school, there are just tons of bullies, tons of times where you just had to defend yourself or fight. And in my case, I really wanted to not fight. I wanted to be the one on the sidelines and not in the fight. I remember always needing to find a game plan to just appease those bullies and not be on the other side of them. I would call them my friends. I would hang out with them during school, sit at their tables, and not sit at the tables that they hated. So just middle school was a series of fighting, series of being afraid and me being controlled by people instead of feeling like I'm free and safe in middle school. My parents were separated for as long as I can remember. I remember my mom telling me that they were separated before we even knew. They would just sleep in separate beds. But when they actually got divorced, she sat me and my brothers down and told us that they were getting one. It didn't really affect me much. I just knew that wherever my mom wanted to go, I wanted to go. And in that time, she needed to find a place to stay. She couldn't stay at my dad's anymore. I never really saw them have very aggressive fights or arguments. I believe that she wanted to keep that hidden from us, but she did want to get out the house. So she went from car to car, from shelter to shelter, and eventually apartments to homes. And in every move she took, I wanted to follow right behind her. In that, she eventually started dating someone and then got married. And then they both moved into a house in the suburbs in the city of Miamisburg. Since my parents were divorced, we split up Christmas time together. It was my dad's turn. And I just remember my mom had this new cool house. I wanted to be there that night instead of at my dad's house. But I selfishly wanted to still go to my dad's house, get those presents, and then go to my mom's. And I explained that to my dad, saying, well, I really want to go to my mom's house tonight and not stay here. Merry Christmas. But I remember also my little brother saying, like, I'm going to stay with my dad. I'm going to be the good brother and not really believe him during Christmas. And I thought, I mean, I have next year, it's whatever. So I left, and I remember seeing in my head my dad standing in the doorway, saying goodbye to me and waiting until I got into the car to just pull off. And I thought that was just the best thing ever for him to do. but I also still wanted to go to my mom's house. And unfortunately, that was the last time I saw my dad. 5 days later, I'm still at my mom's house. I remember her getting a call. I don't know who it was from, but I remember my mom being worried and upset, and I knew something was going on, so I wanted to figure it out. But the next thing you know, we're in a car on our way to my dad's house. And when I pull up, I see there's tons of ambulances and cops. I hear my mom calling my older brother, Alan, to get to my dad's house. And I realize something bad has happened, so we go upstairs. And down the hall, I see my little brother crying and talking to the cops. My dad is not in sight, so I knew something was wrong with him. So I go into his room, and he's just laying there, not alive. And that was the moment where I just prayed a lot, genuinely, about wanting him to take my place instead of me being on this earth. I wanted my dad to be alive and me go to heaven, but that didn't work. But I remember just the people taking him down the stairs in a gurney and in a body bag, and him just being gone. Just seeing tons of tears, tons of people upset, and that was the moment where I felt isolated. I felt like it was just over. I felt change in that moment. Everything changed after that. That left me feeling completely alone. Felt like I couldn't talk to my mom, I couldn't talk to my brothers. It was a horrible feeling. It went from hanging out with my brothers all the time outside to just locking ourselves in our rooms, not talking to each other at all. So I felt alone. And I thought, I'm going into my freshman year, I need a change. I remember my mom talking about finding a good group of friends to surround yourselves around. I thought, freshman year is a perfect time. I've lost being in Dayton. We moved from Dayton to Miamisburg. I lost tons of friends from that, so I thought this is a great new start. So going into my freshman year, I made it a point to find new people. But going into freshman year, it was a very big shock. I went from an urban area to a suburban area, and I didn't think it was going to be that big of a change, but I heard new conversations, new actions people took, the way people talked, it was different. So I was alone in that as well. I just kind of sat back and watched people instead of being with people. So it was just more of a alone feeling. It was just alone after alone after aloneness. Sophomore year, a friend of mine named Kathy, she invited me to this thing called Young Life, and I thought, what is that? Didn't know. She was explaining it very well, so I thought, I'm gonna go home and look it up. I looked it up on Facebook, and there were just tons of pictures of people having a good time, and I believe it was like an egg fight or something, but what I remember is their faces being very happy, and I thought I wanted that. So the next day I went back to Kathy and I thought, hey, I want to go to Young Life. Can you hook me up? She did. She was super excited to give me a ride. or provide a ride for me. It was by this girl named Caitlin Kuntz, and she was a young life leader at our school. And as soon as I got in her car, it was like the night had just began. It was probably just the most fun night I've ever had. And what really sealed the deal was the fact that she wanted to know my name. She wanted to know just different questions about my life. And in that car ride, I thought, wow, this is so different. I just have never experienced the fact that people wanted to be a friend of mine in that way. She wanted to know me, and it was fun getting to know her too. We sang songs and just like jumped around in the car, and it was just on the way to the best night ever at club as well. Club, we just jumped around, sang songs, played games. And what also sealed the deal was the fact that they talked about Jesus. And I thought I was a Christian. I thought, well, I go to church all the time. Like, this is perfect. This is what my mom was talking about when she wanted me to surround myself around a good group of friends. But after this night, I'm coming to Young Life all the time. Like, everything they planned, I want to be at. And that is exactly what I did. I started going to campaigners. I went to club every Monday. And it changed the way I interacted with my family too. After that night, I went back to my mom and I talked to her about everything, every detail. And before then, we didn't talk like that at all. People started talking about camp. It was coming up soon. After kicking and screaming, my leader convinced me to go. Next thing you know, I'm at camp. And it was just one thing after the next, tons of fun things going on. But the big part of camp were the club talks. In the first club talk I hear, it's about Jesus and how great he is and the things he's doing in this world. And I thought, I've been to church multiple times and I've heard these things before, but this is the first time I'm actually sitting down and listening to how cool he is. And I thought, wow, I want to hear more. Sin talk. It was brutal. They talked about how sin is the reason why we just do not have communication with God. Sin prevents that. So imagine me sitting like this, and God being on the other side of that, and I can't see him. And I thought, that is the worst thing ever. Why does sin do that? Like, I want to reach God. I know that is why the change in people's lives affect them so much. I want that. Why can't I have that? Like, sin is why I can't have that. And I thought, this is worthless. This is pointless. Why are you telling me this? I was in tears talking to my Young Life leader about the fact that I want to do everything in my power to get rid of sin in my life. I wanted to go to homeless shelters and feed the homeless. I want to just do multiple good things to just be this good person. And she says, that is not the way. That's not the way you're going to get rid of sin. And I thought, you're wrong. I'm going to do anything I want. Like, I'm just going to be a good person. Like, she's just like, no. And I was angry and sad and confused, and I just cried, and she just held me and told me that there is a hope. And in the next club talk, he's going to reveal that hope to me. And I thought, what is the hope? What are you talking about? But then the next thing you know, club starts, and I'm just ready. I'm ready to hear what the speaker has to tell me. And he reveals that it's Jesus. All along, Jesus was the answer. And that is the moment where everything made sense. I didn't have to just follow people. I didn't have to appease people. I didn't have to be a pushover. I didn't have to go find this perfect group of friends in young life and anything. All I needed to do was say yes to a relationship with Jesus. And in that moment, I did. He wanted me. I felt that one. I felt that desire that Jesus just wanted me to be in a relationship with him. And after that, everything changed for the better. If you think of it like this, it's like you're a baby and you're just learning things in a new way. Babies cry. They fall down when they're trying to learn how to walk. But if you think of a father wanting to help that baby pick him up and say, this is the way you have to do it this time. Or cheer him on when they succeed at running. That is Christ to us. In this new life, Jesus has been walking with me, watching me fall down, watching me cry, watching me succeed, and cheering me on and being patient in multiple situations. He's more than willing to do that with me. I was isolated and hidden in my pain, and now I'm sought after and found in Christ. I was desperate to belong, but now I know I am desired by Christ. I am rooted in Christ.